Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Chris.
Me, Matt.
Your "It's me, Matt" is different every week.
I like to vary it, and also I can never remember how I said it the last time. I did enjoy interrupting you. I actually had a little snot bubble snicker, like an inadvertent snicker bubble, when I listened back to that one. So, but I'm gonna have to leave it some time before I do that again because it's all about the surprise. That one.
Yeah, you kind of have to let that settle a bit before you start dealing that again.
Yeah. It's not an everyday occurrence.
So the Movie Bunker podcast, for those who are new to the podcast, and why would you be? Can
you sound more upbeat, Chris? Sorry.
The Movie Bunker podcast, for those who have not listened before, is a bit of a different spin on the movie review show because we're out to review the critically panned movies out there and try and find good things to say about them. So we're looking at really low stuff, really ideally things below 5 or around the 5 mark on IMDb or certified rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. So the real humdingers. And then occasionally we'll get a special guest to come on and defend the honour of a critically panned movie. Sorry, I can't say that word. That they enjoy, that they enjoy, but they're maybe that their peers or journalists, colleagues didn't rate. And so we're after kind of film people, aren't we? That's kind of where we're at. We're hooking them in, line and sinker.
Yep. And if you find your mind drifting whilst we're talking, just reach for the like button and give us a rating.
And download all the backlog catalogue of episodes as well.
Hooray!
Don't forget that we're playing live. We're doing a live podcast for Superpod 2020 in Southampton at the Social on the 8th of March. We're on around 3 to 4 p.m. on Sunday. So come down and watch us do what we do in front of a live audience. It's going to be different, isn't it, Matt?
It's going to be weird to stare at people's eyes and see the disappointment. Normally such things are hidden from us.
But if you can't make it, you can listen live apparently, and you can watch it on Facebook, so you can tune in live as well. So Superpod 2020 is the name of the charity podcast. The name of the charity festival, and it's based in Southampton. Links and bits and pieces and stuff is on our social media, but it's free to get in up until about 7 o'clock, and then you got to pay. But I think they'll be expecting donations and stuff as it's for sport relief. So it'd be great to see as many of you there as possible if you are in the south of England.
If you're in the north, just get a train for fuck's sakes.
Come on down and hire a coach if there's enough of you. That's what you should do. And there'd be prizes. There's prizes there.
Are they prizes like giveaways?
Giveaways. There'd be giveaways and you can shake our hands.
Yeah, our clammy little hands.
Superpod 2020, raising money for sport relief. 2 days of great comedy and sporting podcasts. Desert Island Dicks. Sports Spiel. Life Goals with Theo Delaney. The Dredgeland Podcast Spectacular. And more. Saturday 7th and Sunday 8th of March at the Social in Southampton. And you can be there too. Free entry until 7 p.m. and then ticket only from 7 p.m. Tickets available now at superpod.co.uk. If you can't be in Southampton, the whole event will be streamed live online on your smart speaker and on Facebook Live. Find Superpod UK on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and use the hashtag SuperPod2020. For more information, visit superpod.co.uk.
Cool. Right. What was the film this week, Chris? Because this week was a film week.
It was, and it is, and it was. But yes, we went off-piste and we did something because we couldn't get the same room together again because we have busy lives. So we chose The Hustle, with the remake from 2019, all those years ago. Here's the trailer.
Is the seat taken? I'll just get a glass of water, please. I have to save all my money because I'm here to find my sister. She's been taken.
Taken? Like
By men who sell hot white virgins to cajillionaires on yachts.
I am very moved by your story. Order anything you like.
I'll have a club sandwich and an order of fries, 2 slices of cake. Do you want any cake?
No.
3 slices of cake and a Diet Coke.
Impressive.
I'm a con artist.
Sisters in arms.
I had no idea how small time I was until I met you.
Penny. Why are women better suited to the con than men?
Because we're used to faking it.
Because no man will ever believe a woman is smarter than he is.
Is it valuable?
$500,000.
I like it because it's shiny.
I could be the partner you never knew you needed. Teach me your sugar baby ways. Take this to the guest room, butlery person.
First lesson, there is nothing more compelling to a man than a vulnerable woman. Observe.
Wow, you can just tear up like that. Can you make the tear roll down your cheek? Oh.
Now you try.
Okay.
Are you constipated?
She's all you'd ever want. She's the kind I'd like to flaunt and take to dig.
If you want to be like me, you must be trained for any situation.
She always knows her place. She's got style, she's got grace. She's a win.
She's ready.
He's the mark.
He's a tech millionaire.
Billionaire, I bet.
Try to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Coming through. Yep, blind person walking here. If this person would just scoot over. Would you mind, sir? Sir?
Men always underestimate us, and that is what we use.
You let her get away.
Trashy dress, you did it again. Release the peasants!
She must mean pheasants, yeah?
Don't worry, darling. She's a terrible short.
That was unexpected.
Yes, I didn't know that this was a remake of a remake. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was in itself a remake.
I've heard of it being a remake before, but I hadn't seen
Bedtime
the original.
Stories, I think the original film was that it was based upon. I don't know how closely Dirty Rotten Scoundrels adhered to that film.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What did you think of The Hustle?
Well, the size says it all, really. It had its moments. I mean, it's a PG-13, which kind of says it all. It's kind of like an hour and a half. It's 90 minutes. We've got essentially what should be a decent cast. Here's the plot synopsis. I'll give you that before we delve
just in
into
case
it.
no one's seen either of the films.
Yeah, so 2 con women, I must stress this is a remake, and they kind of like underlined that. 2 con women, one low rent and the other high class, team up to take down the men who have wronged them. Now, that's like the IMDb synopsis, if you like, or
Yes.
snapshot of what that is, but it's not that accurate.
No.
Because they don't really take down men who wrong them. They basically just seek out to take and fleece men, regardless of what they've done. So that's a bit
these people that they're conning have nothing to do with these at all. They've just literally been highlighted because they are rich. Not wronged at all. And they don't really team up. I mean, there's a slight a brief moment of teaming up and then before they all fall apart. It is interesting because you say it's a remake. They have absolutely sort of polar swapped every role, right? So what was a man in the first film becomes a woman and vice versa, apart from the butler, who is a man in both films. So that's the only one. Arthur. So he's played by, I dig this name out, Nicholas Wooderson, who you recognise from films, like lots of films. And Ian Dermot, who is Senator Palpatine in the original film. So that's the only sort of gender swap that did not take place.
But cast-wise, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, let's go into the cast.
Yeah, so I mean, the two main roles, the two lead roles, belong to Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, and I guess that the third actor who plays the main what's the word when you the main target, if you like, that they're both after is played by a chap called Alex Sharp, who I've never seen in anything before.
TV acting before.
Yeah, but you get some. It's directed by, and it's worth noting, it's directed by Chris Addison, and Chris Addison's the chap who's responsible for being in the thick of it, which is a fantastic sort of satirical British comedy or drama, and also then went on later to direct Veep, which was kind of like the spin-off, the American spin-off for the thick of it. And he's been in many films, and he's a stand-up as well, I think, in his own right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think most people would recognise him as a stand-up first, well, obviously because it's easy to be recognised as a stand-up rather than a comedian, rather than a director, because you get seen. So he's got comedy chops.
Yeah, and he's got in the same sort of Armando Iannucci's kind of camp of that satirical vibe of directing and writing, so that you get kind of cameos from that world. So Timothy Simmons turns up as a character called Jeremy, who's kind of one of the first shallow guys you see, and you'll recognise him as being an equally shallow guy on Veep. We mentioned Rebel Wilson, and briefly, I'll just mention. I mean, Rebel Wilson probably not doing anything out of the ordinary in this movie.
Rob Delaney appears right at the end as well.
It was a nice surprise. Rob Delaney in anything is great. He's such a lovely, big, cuddly man. I wish he was in everything. He turns up right at the end, giving chase after something else, another hustle has taken place just before the end credits, based in London, and you just think, Christ, why not have him at the start and have him all the way through it?
Yeah, why not have him as the billionaire guy, right? He'd have added more to that role than. I mean, Alex Sharp doesn't do a bad job. In fact, no one in this film does particularly. I mean, the acting in this film isn't bad. Ugh, my balls are wet. What's going on? I think I've sat in a puddle.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, now I've got that thing of a certain age where I have to work out whether I've caused the puddle or whether or not it was already here. Anyway, it's unimportant.
I'd beg to differ.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna smash this out here, right? I did not hate this film.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was that bad. I've got issues with it.
Mm.
The biggest issue I've got with it is that it is when they do these remakes. Obviously, they're in a slightly tricky situation because I think we've seen this with a couple of the sort of remakes recently. Either they're slavish to the original material, or in this case, the original copy of a material. Either they're slavish to it and then they get lambasted for that, or they go Ghostbusters route and go completely off piece, an original story, and they get like hauled over coals for that as well. This very much falls into the former of those categories. It is like almost shot for shot a remake. Like they changed some of the details, like her when they're trying to con Alex Sharp, or that she pretends she's blind, whereas in the original, Steve Martin pretends he can't walk. So there's these tiny changes, but but even within that, there's a scene where, so she's trying to con him out of this, like saying there's a cure for her blindness. In the original, there was a cure for his being able to walk, and that cure was at the hands of a famous psychiatrist, German Austrian doctor. And in both of them, the other Anne Hathaway in this one, Michael Caine the original, is miraculously there as that doctor. And one of the best scenes in both films is where they're trying to prove that the guy isn't disabled, or they're trying to prove that she can actually see by hitting them and wiping a chip around a toilet and what's not. That is bad. I mean, it is terrible that they've had to do that. Because, like you said, the cast is strong, so they could have made a completely original story. They didn't do that. They went for a very much a homage. And the thing is, I love the original film, so there's no way I could hate this because it's very similar. It's very similar, and Rebel Wilson's a fine comedic actress. Anne Hathaway's okay as a comedic actress. Her accents are horrendous. She needs to go to accent school bad.
Well, I don't know why. I know, obviously, I appreciate that in the original or the second movie, Michael Caine is British and Steve Martin's American. So they play as they are. They play as type. So, I mean, she's Anne Hathaway is obviously box office draw, but yes, the plummy accent that she puts on, the British accent, is not horrendous in itself, but it's just very
is though. It is horrendous because it is. I think the grating part is the important thing. It's just like you hear it and you go, "Oh God, what is that?"
Well, I thought initially she was putting that on, and she was American, and she was putting on the British voice, and that we would hear her original voice later.
Yeah, I don't think it helps because the first scene that you see her in, she's playing like a slightly dumb version of her normal self. I mean, like her normal American accent.
Yes.
So, like you introduced to her, and she is speaking as you would expect Anne Hathaway to speak. She sounds like Anne Hathaway. She looks like Anne Hathaway. She moves very similar to an Anne Hathaway. So it's and then all of a sudden she's blah blah hello, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Why is that
very
happening?
plummy?
It's weird.
All the accents that come out are slightly strange and go off piste from time to time.
But even the bit where the bit where she thinks she's got rhythm originally. So the plot synopsis didn't really turn us up, so I'm going to do a really quick 30-second of actually what happens in the film. So you're introduced to Rebel Wilson, who's a small-time con artist. They sort of bump into each other on the train. She needs to get out of America, so she goes to Beau-sur-la-Mer, something like that, a south of France hotspot for rich people to go and con them. Whilst on the train, she bumps into Anne Hathaway, who's always been running her cons on Beau-sur-la-Mer. While she's on the train together, she tries to get rid of Rebel Wilson because she doesn't want another con artist knocking about on her patch, so to speak. Then she's sat at a cafeteria, and then Rebel Wilson then turns up, alongside what was going to be their next mark, in exactly the same way as the original film does. Like literally, I think the make of the car is even a Lotus or something, and it looks incredibly similar. It's exactly the same. So then there's like a little bit of a scene. She tries to get her thrown out again through being deported, but then an earlier con talks to the Rebel Wilson character, and then she realizes that Anne Hathaway is indeed not only a con artist, but a very much more successful and grandiose one. So then she goes back and forces herself upon her to teach her the ways of the long con, big con, make more money con. Then there's... Sorry to interrupt you, but does she believe that she's the Medusa character, which is this... Yeah, and again, that's exactly the same. I think I don't know if it's Medusa in the first one. I think it was something else, Fox something or other. But yes, so that's exactly the same. She believes there's a fabled con artist that they've heard of, that Rebel Wilson's heard of, and she believes this to be Anne Hathaway because of her success. And it seems obvious, and you're sort of brought along there. That's the other thing about these kind of films. If there's a twist up in sort of a long heist con movie, don't do the same one in a remake, because everyone's just sat there waiting for it to happen, and they know what's going to happen. But they did it. Maybe it was a double bluff. Maybe they thought they would think that it was going to not happen, and it did happen, and it didn't happen, and then we thought, and we're surprised, but that's not what happened. So yeah, so then you see like the normal sort of montage of other cons when they're working together. But then they have a falling out, and then they decide they're going to have a bet to decide who should stay in Beau-sur-la-Mer. I keep changing that just in case one time I get it right, and you can dub over all my bad ones saying it. And they see a mark that they believe to be very rich, and they both go after them. Rebel Wilson pretending to be disabled, and Anne Hathaway pretending to be the salvation of that disabled person, be it, like I said, leg disabled in the first one and eye disabled in this one. There is no difference in the plot. It's exactly the same. And so that's what actually happens.
And then at the end, they're both conned by the same.
It turns out that the Medusa character, or the Fox character, whatever it was in the first one, is their mark. And, he kind of pulls out goodness from them because he sort of relies on their moral compass, as hidden as it is within them, to actually, steer them right, and he ends up getting money from them. What did you think of the set pieces, Chris?
Well, the couple of ones that you already mentioned were okay, but there was one, the one that got really on my nerves after a while was the one, as you mentioned, that the kind of like the training montage that we get at the beginning, where obviously Anne Hathaway's character is agreed to kind of coach Rebel Wilson to become a better scammer, but it involves a lot of stupid things like athletics or some sort of roly-polies and throwing daggers, and it's not like a Bond film. It's not like she's training for an event or anything, or the Olympics. It just seems incredibly far-fetched that she would be required to do that sort of thing. They last too long as well, don't they? They go
it's
on
weird
a
you
bit.
mentioned that one as well, because that was one of the sort of changes from the first one, because obviously they have the same sort of training montage in the first one, but in the the second of the remakes, it was more relevant. It was like how to eat, decorum, how to enter, how to dress, how to enter a room with panache and style. It was stuff that you could see would be important, not how to vault over a hobby horse, chuck a knife, and do the splits or whatever it was.
And Rebel Wilson does everything probably with the same energy. I mean, she is pulling off the character, and she's doing everything you would expect. There's nothing out of character in that respect. The second montage or kind of thing, which I did elongated scene, was the one where she's trying to prove that she isn't blind by willing her to sort of out of it because she feels it's psychological.
Yes.
There's the bit where she gets her to eat the chip, and there's a bit where she blows in her eye, to try and get her to blink and to say she can see, or does painful things to her and stuff like that. And it was fine as a quick kind of short scene, but it goes on. It becomes majority of the film. It felt like this is the whole film, and the guy who plays this app wizard, the guy who's invented this app that turns out is the big boss, or the big Charlie Big Potatoes guy.
Yeah,
he is bad because he acts so in. It's just the over sincerity of it all, and we shouldn't be watching this movie obviously to take it in and say, oh yeah, this could happen in real life. Of course not, but there has to be some sort of grounding and some sort of reality, but because he's absolutely flaky as hell.
Yeah, the other problem, obviously, that they encounter there is the age old. We're in a sort of connected world these days. So the fact is that, like in the original, I think the person they pick out is a competition winner, so someone that's come into money randomly. Whereas in this, obviously, he's meant to be like an app developer for a really famous app. Like literally 2 seconds of research, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's not that guy at all."
No,
unless he did actually invent an app as well as be a con person, which would seem highly unlikely.
Well, no, but she's able to create a website within minutes.
Yeah,
and to basically alludes to her being this doctor.
Yeah.
So I mean, the way that happens is crazy. I didn't think Anne Hathaway was particularly bad. I just think she was badly cast. I think they could have put a British actress in this, and it probably would have done better for it.
I just think in this role, she inhabits 3 or 4 characters, and has to do 3 or 4 accents, and all of them are really, really bad, like really bad. And it's just like, ouch, just like, don't make her do that, because she was bringing it in other places. Just the accent work was not good. I like the opening scene, actually. So the opening scene when she's doing a small con on Timothy Simmons, and he's got this really brilliant speech where she's like, "Oh, I don't think you'll be serious," and he's like, "No, I'll let her have my kid, and I'll come over like once a month and sit that kid on my knee, and I'll pay some alimony payments and stuff." It's like a really it was a nice little opening.
Truly in love with her, and clearly you're not. So, bye-bye, Jeremy.
Wait, no. Wait, of course I love her. I have been texting with her for like a friggin' month. This is the girl that I'm gonna let keep my babies, and I will pay her due child support. I will visit every other weekend and say hi to the kids and put them on my lap and whatever you do, okay? That is how much I love her, I swear to Christ.
But can you love her birth defect?
Of course I can. I mean, it's on the inside, right? Like it's in her brain or in her heart.
And I did laugh at this film, like more so than any of the other comedies that we've done. I did laugh at this film. I did get grated by how similar it was, but then I thought, is that actually a bad film? A bad thing to copy off? Like, if you're going to do it. They've changed some of the jokes up and stuff. Rebel Wilson was like properly funny in a lot of it. Most of it was the sort of throwaway lines that you kind of hard miss. There's an odd sex scene that seemed massively out of place that I didn't really understand why that was there.
Who was that?
Well, it wasn't a sex scene per se, but when she was talking to the guy that had been conned by Anne Hathaway's character, and then she insists on having sex with him in the toilet. Like, this is like an old dude, right?
Yeah.
I could understand it if like there was, an obvious similar age attraction between them kind of thing. But she literally forces this poor old dude to bang her in the airplane toilets. And it's just like...
It does come over a little bit desperate, doesn't it?
It's a bit weird. It didn't seem on character, because she seemed like quite like obviously a strong person previously. But, when you want dick, I guess. And he just happened to be in the way.
So ultimately, you saying that this film in your eyes should be released?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, the reasons I hate this film are all around why it got made in the first place. Like, if I could, it's like a Hitler thing, right? If I had a time machine, I'd probably go back and kill the ad exec that kind of pitched this film. But now it's been made and out there, I don't think there's anything wrong in this film, apart from the fact it's a blatant rip-off, and the original is much better. I say it's much better. It's 2 points better on IMDb. So this scored a 5.4. Dirty Bottle Scoundrels a 7.4.
Yeah, and that's good actually.
So, and Steve Martin back in the heyday. You could obviously argue this is Rebel Wilson's heyday, but maybe with the lens of 20 years, 30 years, Jesus Christ, with a lens of 30 years, you'd look back and go, oh, actually, that was Rebel Wilson's in her heyday, being typical Rebel Wilson. And also reading through the comments, people going, oh, it's Rebel Wilson just being Rebel Wilson. It's like, Steve Martin is no different. He played the same character across, several films at that point, from The Man with Two Brains, The Jerk, Roxanne. He's kind of always been the same kind of guy. He did a few obviously different pieces and stuff, but for comedic roles, it was kind of the same. Even the fact that Glenn Headley, who played the Mark in the Dirty Bottle Scoundrels, she appeared alongside him in quite a few of his films as well, I think. So yeah, I hate the fact that this film got made, and I hate the fact that it got made in the way that it did. But I don't know if that's enough. Do you know what I mean? To hate a film. Like, if I look at the film in isolation, like if you showed it to somebody that hadn't seen the originals, would they hate this film? Well, the chances are is no, they won't. They'll watch it. They'll enjoy it for what it is. They'll be slightly put out by Anne Hathaway's accents. Of course they will. But there's enough here. There's enough jokes in it because it's based on that original. There isn't a massively slow final third, which a lot of comedies suffer from horribly, especially American comedies. So they got the pep kicks up, and everyone likes a con film, right?
I think so. I mean, it's absolutely fine to stick on in the background or not to watch.
I keep talking myself in and out of it. That's the problem. It's like,
no, I would watch
this again. It's like, no, actually, if I wanted to watch this, I would just watch the original. I would.
Yeah, but isn't that
fuck's sakes? I would watch the second remake. That's the.
Isn't that the case? Isn't that the case for most of these remakes? I mean, they're very, very seldomly do they exceed or the expectations or do any better than the original version. So
has there been any? Has there been a remake?
No, not really. I mean, I would say that the Ghostbusters reboot with the female cast, I think, was a very decent, different universe take on Ghostbusters.
But you couldn't really argue it as a remake, right? That's just a reimagining. Reimagining. That wasn't.
I don't really think there has been any sort of remakes that have been better, apart from
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which was better than Bedtime Stories, I imagine.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. Just thrown out there.
I think this film is worth watching if you do want a little bit of something light. It's PG-13, so it isn't going to isn't not going to offend anybody. There's certainly nothing risky in it. Apart from the little sex scene, but that's just alluded to. You don't really get a great deal of
no. You have to know what sex was to know what was going on.
Yeah, but I think if you're a fan of Rebel Wilson, it's her at her best doing what she does, which is the sarky comments and the backhanded compliments and all the little bits of her personality and her kind of shtick are front and center, and she carries the film. I think it's a vehicle for her as opposed to anybody else. Anne Hathaway is just doing her bit and playing. They do have chemistry, I think, in terms of the way they work together. They're not a bad match. I just don't know whether it needed to be this long. Some of the scenes and some of the set pieces didn't need to be as long as they were and a bit laboured. And also I was a bit disappointed that Chris Addison wasn't able to inject a little bit more of the satire and wit, sharpness of what I know he can do. So I've got some bit of trivia and some goofs for you.
This is all I live for, Chris.
I feel like I haven't done this for ages.
Because we haven't really done a film in ages, have we?
I know. But
I'm not the peeps.
Yeah, I promise you I'm not reading this straight off of IMDb.
Okay.
I promise. Okay, because the film's PG-13 rating was originally an R rating. Rebel Wilson had to go out and argue with the board that the film was no raunchier than similar comedies that had received PG-13 ratings featuring male actors, and her efforts prevailed. So obviously there was script changes.
Well, no, she just went and said it's not bad, and they went, no.
But R-rated would allude to that being a bit more crude humour and maybe some swearing.
Yeah.
But there isn't, and so I don't know whether they.
I'd like to know what the other films were that she compared them to bring the rating down.
I don't know. God knows. This is an interesting one which you'll enjoy. Anne Hathaway said in an interview that she avoided performing a traditional English accent for this role. She said the audience.
She did.
She said the audience know she's American and could potentially scoff at her numerous English characters. So, because her character Josephine is a con artist, Hathaway performed as if maybe Josephine is not actually English at all, but speaks in an English accent as another con, which is what I said.
There's actually a line in the film where Rebel Wilson's Penny Rust character alludes to the fact that she's putting on a fake English accent.
Mm.
Right. So are we then saying that she's such a good actress that she's not only managed to do an accent, but she's done an accent as someone doing a bad British accent because they're not British and they're American, but they're not an actress, so therefore couldn't do a full accent properly, So she's managed to do a very, very specific fake accent. Is that what we're saying?
I think
is it
so.
acting genius, or is she just covering up the cracks?
God knows.
Hard to say.
I think it's probably the latter.
Yeah. Yeah. Is the house in it? I don't know if it's one of your facts. Is the house in it the same house that's in the second remake? It keeps tripping me up. Is it the same? Because it looks like, if not maybe the same location, because it's got the front with the steps down to the beach. Because even the bit at the end when he brings up the people from the boat, it's like
yeah. I mean, it's filmed in Mallorca, so it could well be, and you'd have to see where the first one was filmed. But that's all I can tell you on that one. I mean, the guys didn't really write to me and tell me about that stuff when I was speaking to the producers. When Josephine and Penny pinky swear in the jail, Josephine uses her left hand and Penny uses her right. The film then cuts to a different angle where they switch hands.
That is not the worst thing about this film.
When Josephine is scamming Howard Bacon, she mentions she is 63rd in line to the throne.
Yeah.
This is inconsistent when she then introduces Penny as her only living relative. Because obviously then, I don't know what that means.
What does that mean? Because like she's younger, so she'd be 64th at least.
Tell you what I did like about this movie. Right, that's it. That's what I got. Is the opening credits.
Oh yeah, I made a note of that because you don't see credits anymore, really.
No, and those kind of old school cartoony, 60s, 70s ones where there's a little caper going on in front of your eyes with the characters' names and the
coming in credits. Outdoors and slamming doors in front of you. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I enjoyed it.
Like Monsters Inc.
Yes,
did it fairly recently.
Pink Panther. You don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. The Pink Panther, fantastic credits.
Well, that did have a cartoon already, so it was kind of a given. Right?
I guess so.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed that also.
Well done, Matthew.
Cheers, mate. What, for enjoying it or just generally?
Exactly. Yes. So I guess it's reviews time.
It is reviews time. I had trouble because
did you?
Well, because I mean, I think you can tell I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
Right. If I can take this film out of the world and put it in a bubble and watch it, then there's nothing wrong with it. And in which case, I should have to find a good review. Like I should have to find a 1 out of 10 because I enjoyed it, right? That's the way we roll. But if I pop that bubble and I put it in its rightful place in the world, then it's hard to argue why this film was made. And if you can't argue why a film was made in the first place, like its very inception is flawed, then surely I needed to get a 10 out of 10 to try and combat that. And then because I needed between a 1 and a 10, I just get a 5. But then people that vote 5 are reasonable. And as we pointed out recently, no one in 2019 writing reviews is reasonable. They're either 1s or 10s. There's fuck all 5s. So I went with the 1 in the end. I thought the 1 was closer to where I was than a 10. But my mood changes like at the tick of a hand. Every time I remember something.
Do your bad review and I'll do my good review.
I'll do my 1. So my 1, I'll try and do it in an Anne Hathaway voice.
Oh my life.
So this is me pretending I'm an American actor doing an English accent, but as a con person who doesn't really know how to do an English accent.
Yes.
How or why these things are made, other than to steal gullible people's money. This person's put in brackets here, actually. I was just to justify the fact that they didn't pay. I was given my ticket by my daughter's friend's mother. Daughter's friend's mother. Hold on. Could have just put a friend, I guess, but it's a bit of a call out, that one, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It's actually quite insulting to most with an IQ. Seems to be most just a shoddily tacked together series of unfunny, incomprehensible, immature gags. Maybe the lobotomized or heavily sedated institutionalized patients would find amusing. Rebel really isn't funny or talented, and Hathaway tried way too... There's lots of A's. Lots of A's. They're too hard. Maybe the deathly stench that was disguised as a thinly veiled supposed script didn't help, but still... And there's a full stop, which is odd for a but still moment. For those who think I'm being harsh, I am! Even my daughter and friends thought this stupid and pathetic beyond the pale should be straight to beta or some remote abounded outback P-orn theatre. Just terrible. What's a beta? Straight to beta. Should be straight to beta.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, God.
That's by Harold He Cuba. And the title, weirdly, is Might Be Funny Played Backwards. Just trying to think how that would work. No.
Don't think that's going to work.
It's not going to work.
I've got the 10 out of 10 then, because obviously I didn't like it. Balance. It's the first time you've done a 1 out of 10 review.
It's the first one.
Yeah. So here's mine. I'm going to do it as don't know. I don't know how this is going to work.
Like a Texan, because we don't have to worry about the people of Alabama anymore.
Oh, yes. Okay. Really? Okay, sorry. Let's cut. Start again. 10 out of 10. It was so damn funny, and here's why. By Klemen Kovalukovic.
Klemen sounds Southern American.
Really, I thought from beginning to the end, so much. Really. Really? Oh, hang on. I've just read that word wrong. It was so damn funny, and here's why. It was written on the 16th of August, 2019, by Klemen Kovalukovic. Okay?
Klemen.
Really? I laughed from beginning to end. So much I got tears out of laughing. A brilliant acting. Especially the accents were so good.
Come on.
Really, I can't see why people dislike this movie so much. It was made purely for the entertainment and nothing more.
What else? What is the other purpose of a film?
It is not.
It was
drama.
made to be a bookshelf.
This is the weird. It is not drama nor thriller.
Nope.
Just a comedy.
Yep.
And some storyline in between.
Oh, God.
This is really what the way they write this stuff. A simply movie, but hilarious one. At least for me, it was very funny. Why I like this movie is because it got me every time. I thought I already figured everything out. Bam! Everything changed. Yeah, so yes, I like that one because yes.
It basically describes what a film is, how a film is constructed with either a bit of thrilling or a bit of horror or a bit of comedy. And in between those bits of comedy, it's pieced together with a story.
So, Matthew, that's it.
That's it.
I think it's a difficult one for me. If you're happy for this to go through, I'm going to...
I don't know. I still don't know.
I'm not on the fence. I'm just slightly below the fence line. So you enjoyed it, and I think you enjoyed elements of it. I think that's enough. I think for me, I enjoyed Rebel Wilson, and I enjoyed Anne Hathaway to a certain extent. So this film is not a bunker movie,
and also it might make more people watch Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah,
which is seminal. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a good film. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
This movie got quite a panning. I remember when it came out as well. It got critically panned. Obviously, that's why we're doing it. So on IMDb, it's like a 5.4. But on Rotten Tomatoes, it did even worse. I mean, it had a tomato meter of 14%.
Oh,
an audience score of 44%. So it's properly bad on there. But it's not that bad. It is got its moments. And I think if you're a fan of Rebel Wilson and you're a completionist of her work, then definitely seek it out because you won't be disappointed by what she does in it. but ultimately it's definitely not for everyone who wants something a little bit with a bit more panache, if you like.
I am definitely, what this film has done is that I'm definitely going to watch the first one. Oh God, I've done it again. I'm definitely watching the first remake again.
yeah. The Michael Caine, Steve Martin version is still very,
I might
funny.
just go on a full Steve Martin fest of watching The Man with Two Brains, The Jerk. Oh, such good films. Roxanne.
I love that one. But yeah, so yes, the movie is free. We've let it out. This is the first movie we've let out, apart from our special guest movies. But this is the first one I think we've agreed is absolutely fine.
Have we agreed? Have you kept the dust jacket and it's just a DVD knocking about down the street on its own?
Yeah, I mean the overlords will shoot it up the pipe, won't they? That's what their job is. And it goes out the little pipe and goes out into the world.
I might be called before a tribunal on Monday then. You did what?
Yeah, but they've given us this job. We've got to sort of follow it through, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't have all of them in the bunker. There's no room.
Because, if I showed this to my kids, which I will do in a PG-13 kind of way in a few years, then they'd probably like this one. They'd probably prefer this one because it's got, production value that didn't exist in 1988.
The slapstick stuff is relatively funny. Anyway,
but the bit where Michael Caine's whipping his legs is just brilliant. And then when he's punctuating his sentence, going, "I will not rest until this man walks again." It's just
it is good.
Steve Martin's
the bit where Anne, they kind of do something similar. Anne Hathaway is blowing in her eye for so long, and she goes, "All I can smell is semen." This is quite funny.
She's knocking on the window trying to get in. Says, "I could just smell industrial douche."
Oh, that's right.
And early onset menopause. See, there are funny bits.
Good. Yeah, she's very, very, very good in it, actually. But there you go. So that's that episode done. We've done another film episode. So until next time, Matthew.
Bye. Bunkering out. What? I still can't remember what we're meant to fucking do at the end.
So I say,
Heidi ho.
I'll say cheerio, Matt, or something like that, and you say bunker out.
Bunker out. But I don't want to say that though, because I'm not like
that doesn't sound very good either.
I'm not a prick.
So we'll just say see you next time.
See you. Well, we don't see them. Well, we will see them. But maybe if they only turn up. But yeah.
Listen to us on the next podcast.
Keep your ears warm.
Oh, well, that doesn't work either.
Well, you don't want your ears getting cold.
I suppose not. Let's just say cheerio each then.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Cheerio. Brilliant. Nailed it.